In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight, I would like to open the show with a Black history reflection of Julian Bond. Today, we honor the legacy of Julian Bond, a towering figure in the fight for civil rights, human dignity, and political empowerment. Born in 1940, Bond became one of the youngest and most influential leaders of the civil rights movement. As a co-founder of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, he helped organize sit-ins, freedom rides, and voter registration drives that reshaped the political landscape of the South. Bond went on to serve 20 years in the Georgia House and Senate, becoming a national voice for justice, equality, and the protection of civil liberties. He later served as the chairman of the NAACP, where he continued to champion the rights of Black Americans, LGBTQ plus communities, and marginalized people across the world. Julian Bond believed that activism was not a moment, it was a lifelong commitment. He taught us that leadership is service, courage, and responsibility, and progress is a collective journey. Now, let me introduce our guest tonight. There are stories that remind us of resilience, stories that remind us of discipline, stories that remind us of what it means to serve with honor, lead with integrity, and build a legacy rooted in family, community, and purpose. And tonight, we have the privilege of hearing one of those stories. On America in Black and White, we celebrate the men and women whose lives reflect the strength of our history and the promise of our future. Dr. John Payne Jr. is one of those leaders. Born in Orlando, Florida, raised with the values of hard work and perseverance, and shaped by 20 years of honorable service in the United States Army, Dr. Payne represents the very best of Black excellence. From the battlefield to the classroom, from military leadership to academic achievement, from community engagement to authorship, Dr. Payne has lived a life committed to service. His journey is one of discipline, sacrifice, education, and unwavering dedication to uplifting others. Tonight, we honor his story. Tonight, we honor his service. Tonight, we honor his legacy. This is America in Black and White, and this is Dr. Payne's moment. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Payne. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I am excellent. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate it. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
No, I would like to say something to you, however. Thank you for having me on your platform. And I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and talk with you.
Yes, sir. Definitely appreciative. And look, it's a long time coming because we booked this a while ago.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us, growing up in Orlando, what values shaped you as a young man?
I mean, you touched upon quite a few attributes. Hard work was in independence. Those were the things that were instilled in me as a child. Uh, Being able to get connected to different men that were able to share their experiences and their manhood with me. Those were the values that really shaped me into manhood and becoming I guess who I became. So yeah, so those were the things. Other people taking interest in me as a young man, as a child, definitely shaped my belief system, and I carry a lot of those attributes with me today.
Okay, let me just introduce, just say hello to some folk here in the chat. There's one here that's saying hello. I want to thank you for being here and watching the show, and I hope you enjoy. Um, and here's one here that's saying hi, sir. Thank you for being here as well. I hope you enjoy the show. And let me just get back here to the show. What do you remember most about your childhood and community?
Well, at the age of 7, I found out that I was adopted.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and so that had a huge impact on my life and the way I view the world, and my value and family. And that was a major, I guess, epiphany of learning that I was an adopted child. And so that really shaped my value system in how I moved about the world and some of the things that I wanted to accomplish, the seriousness of uh, developing my manhood, pursuing things with a great deal of zeal, professionalism, and I adopted a sort of a can't lose mentality. So I looked up at the positive aspect of every situation and how that I can benefit from it and how it can assist me in achieving and becoming successful in life.
So would you say that in learning that, and I'm assuming that this was at a latter part of your life, is that what made you be the strong person that you are today and the perseverance that you have?
I guess that's where it came from. I can say that would probably be true. So it allowed me or gave me the opportunity to understand the importance of certain things and not take things for granted. Definitely.
So who were the early role models who influenced your character?
In my first book, I paid homage to a group of men. Um, the first was a deacon in the church. He took me under his wing. He took a strong like to me, and he taught me the value of hard work. Um, and there are several different men that I stole from, um, because I consider myself to be unfathered. That's something that I came up with. But there were certain men. The first one was a deacon in the church. His name was Henry Prime. The next was my stepfather's nephews, and they were night and day. And I learned something from both of them. There's also a gentleman that I attended high school with. He was an upperclassman, but we ended up joining the military on the same day, and he was quasi my first big brother, so to speak. And so between those four men, I took a little bit from each of them in order to form my identity, so to speak.
So what did Jones High School mean to your development?
Wow, Jones Wow, High Jones High
Everything.
School, everything in my
My,
development. I don't know if you're familiar with the history of Jones High, but Jones High School is one of the oldest historically black high schools. It is the oldest in the state of Florida, but it is one of the oldest in the country. So for me, to have an opportunity to be around my people and to grow and learn in that atmosphere was second to none. It was Jones High is more than an educational institution. It's almost like an extended family, and so it was everything to me. And some of those lessons that I learned, some of the classmates I'm still friends with to this day. The atmosphere itself was something that I think is very hard to duplicate, and it was very instrumental in my upbringing, and it really shaped me as a black man.
So, can you tell us when did it help you when it came to the work you do in community engagement and how you try to help the community when you give back?
Um, I would say no. My community activism that came from the fraternity. I am a member of what I would like to call the greatest fraternity, uh, and I am a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And once I became a member, that is when the community activism really took forefront, and I was able to participate, and I'm still able to participate in giving back to the community through a lot of different venues that the fraternity has to offer.
So, when you look back at your teenage years, what moments prepared you for adulthood?
Um, I would say the lessons that I stole, I'll use that, I acquired from the gentlemen that were in my life. Um, though that was very pivotal. My time spent in the church. My mother, my adopted mother, didn't have a lot to offer me, but she did offer me love, and she offered me church. So that gave me a foundation to build off of, and I'm very thankful and grateful for all of that.
So, what inspired your decision to enlist in the United States Army?
Say that again.
What inspired your decision to enlist in the U.S. Army?
Oh wow. I was never actually inspired to join the army. Um, however, life took a turn after graduating from high school. Um, Outside of sports, I didn't take education seriously. So everyone that was out in the world becoming someone was off doing that. And so I was left behind. And I know for certain that I had two options on the road that I was traveling, and jail and death was probably one of those options were for me. And so I knew that I had to make good on the effort that my adopted mother placed in me in order to become someone other than who I was becoming. So I had to exit the route that I was currently on, and I had to move into something more positive. And I couldn't pursue academics at the moment. And so the Army was actually my saving grace. And so the Army actually didn't teach me anything. So it was a natural fit because my mother gave me discipline. She taught me how to cook, how to sew, how to take care of my clothes, how to clean, and then the other stuff that I gained along the way through the four gentlemen that I mentioned that I pay homage to in my book. Um, that made a perfect storm for me. So the Army was very easy for me. And after I woke up, I had reached the 10-year mark, And so I was like, okay, well, I might as well finish this thing on out. And so that is how that took place.
So, how did your family react when you told them that you were joining the army?
I didn't care. I didn't. I wasn't looking for a reaction. I didn't seek one. Um, I honestly, I called the recruiter, and he remembered me. I was an athlete, and he remembered me, and he was like, "I'm on the way." So he showed up at the house, and we talked, and he was like, "Are you serious about this?" And I was like, "Yes, I would leave today if I can." And so I joined, and I didn't ask for permission, but I did ask for forgiveness. So I went home and said, "Hey, I've done this thing, and I want your support with this." And I felt personally that it was my only shot in life in order to become someone. And so I didn't seek any guidance, advice. Is I attacked it head on. I joined, and I never looked back.
So, can you tell us what were some of the personal challenges you overcame in your journey to manhood?
I faced uh, I faced racism. Um, I also had a love hate relationship with academia, and I had to learn basically. Um, I had to convince myself that I was smart. I didn't have a clue, and so once I realized that I was capable of learning, I was capable of doing the work. So that was a hurdle, and those were the I dealt with in my life was racism and challenges in academia. Once I figured out that I had the capacity to learn and grow and flourish in that environment, and then that no longer became a problem. It was no longer a problem for me after that.
So, how has your upbringing influenced the leader you became?
Well, I think that leaders are made. I don't think they're born. I mean, you can have some natural traits and attributes naturally, but I think that leadership is a developed skill. And so because I was ambition, because I was hungry and very ambitious, um I advanced relatively quickly in the army. And so by me advancing, that put me in leadership positions. And so that caused me to research and learn more about leadership and leadership styles. And so once I figured out that people are different, um, motivating people is a task because different things motivate different people. And so once I peeled the onion back, did my due diligence, started learning about leadership styles, and applying those in real time and seeing that develop. That's you know how I developed my leadership.
So, what does your hometown of Orlando represent to you today?
It's home. It is home. I no longer live there, but my heart is there. So I travel uh, back home quite often, and I still get the uh, the feeling of excitement when I cross over from the Georgia Florida line. When I see the sign that says "Welcome to Florida," I still get excited when I go home. And so Florida, Orlando specifically, has a part of my heart that quite frankly, I don't want to ever not feel excited about going home. So I love Orlando. It is everything to me. It'll always be home. And so I love the city that raised me. Yeah.
Let's move over and talk a little bit about your education and scholarship. What motivated you to pursue higher education after retiring from the Army?
Well, my journey actually didn't start after the Army. When I retired from the military, I had already achieved my undergraduate and graduate degree. Um, and once I retired from the Army, I started working in the federal government. And so I believe that education is undefeated. You can't, they can't take it from you regardless. And so I started seeking education because I wanted to better my life and in return better the life of the family that I built. And so the key for me was to educate myself. And so that's what I set out to do. Um, I was My journey as far as a terminal degree started with North Carolina Chapel Hill. I was accepted into the Keenan Flagler School of Business. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it is one of the number one business schools in the country. And while attending Chapel Hill, um, I received an email from the University of Miami. And so I ended up receiving a military scholarship. And I don't tell too many people this, but as a child, I always had a love for the University of Miami. But of course, it was out of reach for me because I didn't apply myself in high school. So when the University of Miami came knocking, I answered because even though Chapel Hill, I'll never say anything bad about the University of North Carolina. I think it's a first class institution, but my heart was in Miami. So it was an easy decision to make, and it's all about the you for me. And once I was accepted into the program, I didn't look back until I was conferred. So I'm very happy about that. So I am a proud alum of the University of Miami.
So, why did you choose applied learning sciences for your doctoral studies?
Well, I have an EDD, so I'm always planning ahead. So eventually, I would like to move into academia as a professor at a university. So that is my reasoning for choosing that. I am nearing the end of my civil servant career in the federal government, and my wife, who I am very proud of, Dr. Rolanda L. Payne, she has two doctorate degrees. She has an EDD from Morgan State and a PhD from the University of Maryland at College Park. And so I'm looking forward to, in our elder years, both of us being professors at a university and taking the summers to do our traveling. So that is a plan that I've set forth that I would like to see come to fruition.
That's a great plan. What was the most challenging part of earning your doctorate?
Um, this is, and I pray that this doesn't come across as any form of arrogance. I didn't have any challenges. I took it seriously, and I looked at the elephant and I ate it one bite at a time until it was all consumed, and that's how it went. So it wasn't a challenge for me. Writing is not an issue for me. I like writing. I have a unique skill. I kind of write it in my head first, so the paper is pretty much written, minus citations and things of that nature. So I have a direction mentally in the direction that I'm going to move into when I start writing. And once, I put my fingers to the keyboard, it's pretty much a done deal after that. But it wasn't uh, challenging for me at all.
So with that, and just thinking about, how you've actually transitioned from, high school now into the military, out the military, now you're a PhD. How much of that can you give credit to the upbringing and the strength that was put within you for what these guys poured into you, that you were able to just go through, and this has become a breeze, for you to get to this point where you're accomplishing all the things that you set out to do?
It's determination. So the way I was raised, I take very little for granted, and I have a strong will and desire to accomplish what I set out to. The majority of my friends and the people that know me well, they will tell you that if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. It's going to get done. And so that's just how I live my life. Um, I make sure that my word means something. And if I set out to accomplish something, I'm not going to rest until it is accomplished. And so that's just how I move about life.
So how did your military background prepare you for your academic rigor?
Um, that is a good question. I'm not. I can't necessarily give the military any credit for the rigor that was faced academically. Um, Outside of some of the attributes that the military kind of preaches, as far as persistence and can do attitude, those type of things. I think those are attributes that I can kind of put a little weight to, but I can't fully give the military credit, because I honestly would say I don't think that the Army taught me anything necessarily. I kind of I had everything that I needed going in. So I would say my childhood and the will and desire to accomplish and achieve. I think that is biggest the biggest attribute that I can account for. My success in those areas.
So, what about the structure and the discipline that the military offers? Did it play any part in that at all?
I came with it. It was in me. I'm being honest with you. I when I joined the military, everything that I needed was already in me. It was instilled in me. I knew how to, give someone the proper customs and courtesy. I'm a Southern man. I'm a Southern boy raised. I knew no ma'am, no ma'am, yes ma'am, no sir. I knew how to respect others. And so I knew how to keep my items clean. I cherish the things that I have. So it didn't teach me anything. It was all inclusive. I had what I needed to be successful in that environment. And I honestly believe that if you can be successful in that environment, you can be successful in any environment. And that opened my eyes to dealing with people, different races, creeds, colors, religions, backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, so it gave me a look into the world. I had an opportunity to travel to different countries, have respect for their customs and courtesies in other countries. And so it was already in me. It was just a matter of applying those at the right time and utilizing persistence, and just not giving up and not quitting.
So, what does being Dr. Payne mean to you and your family?
Um, it means a lot to me because I'm the most unlikely suspect. So I didn't achieve high in school, in grade school. Um, Matter of fact, I'm writing a book now about my educational journey. There was a young man that I went to school with. His father was in politics in our city. He had it all together. He was a class valedictorian. He had it all together. He knew what he wanted to become. He understood the college structure. He had the grades to back it up. He knew what institution he wanted to go to. I mean, he had it all together. That was not my story. I actually admire this gentleman. I haven't had an opportunity to tell him. I'm hoping to see him one day and express to him the influence that he had on my life as a teenager, because he had it together. And so I like to utilize something that he told me, um, and what it means to me. So he never had a discussion with his parents about going to college. It wasn't discussed in his house. He said the writing was on the wall. His mother and his father were both college educated. It was nothing they discussed. He knew that he was going to college. He knew what he was going to college for. He knew what institution he was going to. He had it all laid out. And so I think that for me, it provides an example for my children because the writing is on the wall. Between me and my wife, there are three doctors in the house. Three doctorate degrees live here. And so I think that it provides an excellent example for my children to follow. And even if they don't reach that particular goal, they understand that education is important and they take it very seriously. So I like to give my son, Sean Payne, I like to give him a shout out. Um, he's moving into his senior year in high school. He's my middle child, and he is leaving this year as Magnum Cum Laude. So I just like to give him a shout out. We're proud of his academic achievements, and my daughter, my youngest daughter, is also an honor roll student, and my oldest son is in currently serving the country. He followed in my footsteps, and he's in the military.
Oh wow, man! You know that's a wonderful structure because it actually more than proves that you and your wife have set a great example. Because as your kids are following along, it actually makes it that much simpler for them as it was for you. As you say, you already got the structure; just go do it.
Absolutely.
How do you use your education to empower others?
Um, well, I like to talk to my closest friends about education. Um, so I'll use someone else I served with, a gentleman that I served with. He's actually, I consider him one of the smartest people that I know. I tried to convince him to pursue a terminal degree. He has four master's degrees. So one day he took me up on my offer, and he too is a graduate of the University of Miami with a terminal degree, and he is now a professor at the University of Miami.
Oh man.
And so I love talking to my peers and my counterparts about the importance of education. And so a few of them have taken me up on my offer to pursue a terminal degree, and the ones that have, it has paid dividends for them beyond their imagination. And so I love talking to others and sharing my experience with them, and just to let them know that you too can achieve this. I don't have a formula that is hard to follow. I'm not special. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And so I believe that if I can achieve academically, then most of my peers can as well.
What role does lifelong learning play in your life?
Big. I think that you should posture yourself to learn something new every day. Um, I'm constantly reading, researching things of interest. Um, and as an author, I like to do independent research about different topics that I'm writing about, and I like to fold that learning into my writing. And so, yeah, very, very important. I think that you should always seek to learn. That's just me. I think if your mind is sharp and it's working, I think regardless of what age you become, if your mind is still sharp, you're still productive. You know, I'm a firm believer that you get paid more from using your mind than you do your hands.
Um, what did you learn about yourself during your doctoral journey?
Um, I learned that there was another level that I can get to. There was because um although it wasn't extremely challenging, there were moments where I had to dig deep in order to persevere and continue. I think that terminal degrees are not necessarily gained by the smartest individual, it's gained by perseverance. So if you can persevere and if you can take a bite out of that elephant, eventually you can consume it. And so I think that it showed me I had another gear that I could get to.
So, how do you bring academic knowledge into real world community work?
Um, I think that it just opens it opens your world. It broadens your world. It gives you different perspectives. And I'm a component of working smarter, so I think that that helps. And the more you learn, the more you read, the more you grow. And so if I'm unsure about some things or something that I want to know more about, I'll put the time in order to do that because I'm all about uh, finding ways in order to work smarter.
Um, what advice do you give to adults returning to school later in life?
Never too late. Never too late. And I really, honestly and truly believe that. It's never too late. I mean, if your mind can work, if you can reason, if you can think, if you can comprehend, um, I don't think that there's an age with that. I think that it's just a matter of perseverance and determination, and the will to learn. So yeah.
So, let's talk about your authorship and your two books. First of all, can you tell us what inspired you to become an author?
Well, I became an author by mistake. So I went on this journey to find my biological family. And I'm a proud father of three children. And I wanted to capture this information for my children. Um, so I started documenting my journey. In the process of documenting my journey, I wrote a book. And so I sent it out to a few people and that I know that were published. And one particular guy, he said, "Man, you are an author." And he had previously wrote some books. And he said, "I'll never be able to produce a body of work like this." and he said, "You write in HD." He said,
Oh my.
see, I can actually see what I'm reading. Like, so my book took him on a journey. He could actually see what I was trying to convey through the pages of my book. So I haven't stopped. After I couldn't stop writing. And so I had a lot to say. I have a lot of lived experiences that I want to share, and I want it to live forever. My two books are currently in the Library of Congress in DC. Um, the first book is in the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. I don't know if you are familiar with that in the District of Columbia, but it takes up a whole city block. And so it is on the third floor in the nonfiction department. And I was able to take my family there. My daughter actually found it on the shelves. And so that was a big moment for us as a family to be able to take my children to the Martin Luther King Jr. Library in DC and to be able to see my book on the shelves in that prestigious library meant a lot to me, and I was very happy that I was able to share that moment with my children.
So, what themes do you explore in your writing?
Um, I explore genealogy. I explore uh, genetic mirroring. If you're familiar with that, I explore. I'm currently working on an outline for my first fiction book. So that will be a mystery drama. So I'm exploring into that genre as well. And I'm dabbling into writing screenplays now. So I've adapted my first book into a screenplay, which I've completed. And so yeah, so I like a wide variety. I'm currently in the process of working on a children's book with my daughter, which will be 13 this summer. So we're working together on a children's book. And that book is based upon an affirmation for young Black girls. Yeah. So I am excited about that. So yeah, a wide variety of things that I have an interest in as far as writing about and researching on. So yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your first book. You may not be who you think you are. Tell us about that, but give us a little mini synopsis of the book, and give us the backing as to where this came from.
So like I said before, I was adopted at birth. And so as an adult, I decided that I wanted to find um, from whom I came, and work on
Work on.
basically my identity. And by doing that, it took me down a lot of different roads. I am one of nine siblings, um, and on my biological mother and my biological father, more so on my biological father's side. I didn't get a chance to meet him. He's deceased, um, but he left some offspring behind, and we were able to connect, which is a great thing, to connect with my siblings. I love them dearly. We have really good relationships, and so I wanted to capture that moment. And so I did have an opportunity to meet and talk to my biological mother. And so I was basically hidden in plain sight. My adopted mother and my biological mother lived 3 miles apart during most of my childhood. My youngest brother from my biological mother's side, um, we went to the same high school and knew each other, but didn't know each other as brothers. And so it was just it was an amazing journey. And so I wanted to capture it. And so I basically I cataloged 50 years of my life into one book as far as um, the adoption piece. So my first three books, I'm writing them in a trilogy. The first book, You May Not Be Who You Think You Are, is based upon my adoption. My second book is based upon my military career, and it is titled Stand Down. I'm currently working on my third book, which outlines my academic journey, and so I'm working on that as well. And that will catalog, my upbringing and the three most important facets of my growing up as a young man in Orlando. So, and my life throughout the military.
Wow. So, can you going back to the first book? Can you tell us what was the importance and what was the intrigue that came across you that made you want to do this trace to to find your biological parents and find out who they are, the siblings, all those good things. Why did you want to do that, and what was so important about that?
I had several things happen in my life as an adult. The first thing was when my wife was pregnant with our first son, our first child. I felt a way that I didn't know my family's medical history. That really bothered me. And so, when uh, we were going through our first pregnancy, that was a thing. The doctor was constantly asking about historical medical information, and I had no answers, and that bothered me. The second thing was I am a big Denzel Washington fan. Not knowing what the movie was about, I just knew that this was his directing debut, and I watched the Antoine Fisher movie on
Oh
DVD
my God.
blind,
Yes.
blindly. I had no idea what the movie was about. I just knew that my work schedule at the time didn't allow for me to go to the theater, so the DVD was coming out. I purchased the DVD, and me and my wife watched it, and it tore me up. It changed my life. It's like, wow. So that was another thing that actually propelled me. The third thing was I read an article by another adoptee, and the article was the first time that I read something that described perfectly the way I felt inside about being adopted. And so that pushed me over the edge. And so from then on, um, I started the pursuit to, find my lineage, and find out who I am and from whom I come from. And so those were the three things that really pushed me over the edge in order to pursue it.
So, in all that tracing, did you establish any new relationships with your newfound family that you have found?
Yes, all of the relationships were new. I initially was under the belief that I was an only child. So when I found out that I had siblings, it was mind blowing. And so yes, all of the relationships are meaningful to me. And yeah, they all were new. And what's really dynamic about that is that many of them didn't feel new. It felt like they were always there. And so I think that genealogy is very, very powerful. I think that genetic mirroring is powerful, because up until that moment, I hadn't seen anyone that I resembled in life. And so it was amazing to see and to be around and to be able to touch and talk to individuals that I share blood with, that I resemble, that I have some traits, and they have traits that look like me. So it was an amazing journey, and yes, I've established quite a few new relationships, and you know, and they all are beneficial to, you know, my healing and my mental health, and my growth as an individual. And yeah, it is an awesome experience. So anyone that's listening that knows someone that was adopted and they're apprehensive about it, because there are a lot of people that have fear, when it comes to, you know, finding, their biological families, and there's a lot of fear with that. And I would tell them, once, you find someone that you connect with on, you know, that sort of level, it is an awesome thing, and it's just, you know, you can't top it.
So, how does your military experience influence your storytelling?
I think a big
A
deal,
big deal.
because I had an opportunity to see the world differently. And so, I did 20 years in the army, and in those 20 years, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of people and live in various different places. And so I think that it has a big influence, not only, well, it has a big influence on my life. So it's going to affect, my writing, how I see the world, and things I think are important, and, you know, things that I lend weight to because of it. So yes, plays a big role.
So, what message do you hope readers take from your work?
Um, Never give up. Um, and the book itself is not doom and gloom. There's some humor in there. And so I think that, growing up the way that I did, you find ways to entertain yourself. And so, I find humor, um, in a lot of different experiences. You know, being hindsight, being 2020, that, you know, some others may not find humor, but I can relay that in such a fashion where you could see, you know, the humor in between the lines. So yeah.
Tell us about your writing process and how your creative thinking goes into this great work or these great works that you're doing, that you're producing.
um I start with, the overarching story that I want to tell, and then I complete an outline, and then I start putting flesh to that outline. I flesh that out, and then I start writing. Um, but I don't necessarily write chronologically. Um, I may, feel comfortable writing about a certain topic today that may be further down the outline. And so, but it all comes together at the end. But, you know, I may jump around in the outline as far as what I'm going to write about in that particular time period, that I'm writing. So that is the method that I use. I figure out a topic that I want to write about. I do my research and due diligence. I complete my outline, uh, with notes included, and then I create a checklist according to that outline. And then I start writing, and then I may jump around from different parts of the outline until the manuscript is complete. Once the manuscript is complete, then I go into an editing process, and then I run it by a few individuals, send it out, get fillers. Hey, what you think about this, and so forth. And then I go through the process of publishing.
So, have you always been a creative, or was this one of the gifts of yours that just came to you and you just start doing it?
I think I've always been creative, and the gift was in me. I didn't know it. So as a child, I took art lessons. I draw. I paint. Um, I took music, and so the creativeness was always there. I didn't know that I was a writer until I did it. Once I did it, I was like, wow. And then receiving the affirmation from others, that have read my work, um, that was enough to push me over the edge. Something that I wanted to continue doing, that I enjoy and I love to do it, and so it's become a part of who I am, and what I like to do.
Take us through Stand Down. Tell us about Stand Down and its process and why that was so important to you.
So Stand Down covers a large portion of my military career. And I focused on how I overcame uh, various different episodes of racism. And so, what was funny about it is that I actually did nothing. And so, uh,
You
every
did
time
nothing.
I did nothing, every time I came across some type of racism, I accredit it to God. Every time I came across something or some type of racism towards me, it was handled. And so, that is why the book is titled Stand Down. It's synonymous with military life, but it's synonymous with the actions that I took in order to overcome the racism or the different racist episodes that I encountered throughout my 20 years in the military. And so it was just taken care of. I stood down. I did nothing, and those things were taken care of for me. So I didn't fight. My battles were fought for me. And so I tried to express that throughout the book. And so, I have been a proponent of that my entire life. And so I guess knowing when um, to fight and when not to fight is just as important as knowing when to fight. And so, my battles were fought for me, and they worked out very well, better than I could have done myself. And so I wanted to express that and capture that and put it into a manuscript in which it became a book. So yes.
So, tell us one of the must read parts of this book that stands out so much that it was a real critical point in your writing this book.
Um, Let me see. Most standout. I had a gentleman that was out to basically end my military career. Um, he had everything going for him. We started out at the same rank. We went to school together. He got promoted before me. He ended up requesting to be my supervisor in order to end my career. And in the process, he lost his career. Yes, he lost his career. He had everything going for him. Everyone that was significant in our chain of command loved him. He was college educated long before I thought about it. Um, and he had, I mean, his road was paved with gold. They rolled out the red carpet for his career. He was on his way, but he could not leave me alone, and he ended up losing his career. And so that is it was significant. It's a significant portion of the book, and yeah, it was it was a real eye opener as to sometimes it is best to allow God to fight your battles than to get in. He'll handle it a whole lot better than we can. And so I was fortunate that I could see my battles being fought for me in real time, and so I stood down.
So, Jimmy, so can you tell us, as with your military experience, and experiencing racism to this extent, because I know that what you're saying is to be very much so factually true. But for those that don't understand that, can you tell them what was that like for you?
Um, so I hadn't experienced racism until I joined the military. And if I did, I didn't identify with it or couldn't recognize it because I was raised in my bubble. You know, I went to an all black high school. I lived in an all black neighborhood. So it was disheartening because of um, it was a contradiction of the religious foundation that my mother had gave me. So she didn't teach hate, she taught love. And so I couldn't believe that there were people in this world that hated you simply because of the color of your skin. It was just amazing to me. So that part was very disheartening. Um, but it did teach me how to navigate the system, how to move in that environment. And so that part was helpful, but it was very disheartening. And so you find you find your community in the military. You find your community. There are certain people that you are drawn to, that you connect with, that understand you, that have similarities, similar backgrounds, that come from, may come from a different state or city, but you share
But you
this
share this
common upbringing, so to speak, and value system and things of that nature. So that was very disheartening that there were actually people that really, dislike you for nothing.
Ooh, yeah, they're there. So how do you balance personal truth with public storytelling? We're still about your writing.
um, I'm a truth teller. So my goal when I write is never to bash anyone. Um, Never um, relay a message that belittles anyone in any type fashion. So I stick with the truth. During my editing process, if I find something that I think could possibly be offensive to someone or a group, I find ways to soften that or remove it all in general. So I like to stick with the truth. You can't do anything with the truth. It stands alone. You don't have to remember it. You don't have to alter it in any way. The truth is, it just is. And so that's my method. I like to stick with the truth. I try to refrain from over embellishing things and stick with the facts and write them as I see them and how they relate to the message that I'm trying to get out.
What authors have influenced your voice?
Um, wow, that's a good question. Um, I I have a gamut. My uncle influences me. I have an uncle, and I have quite a few. This is something that I discovered after I found my biological family. I have authors in the family. Um, so my uncle is an author. My oldest sister is an author. And so they were big influences because it was someone close to me that I share blood with, and that they were authors. So it was almost like I don't know, it was like it was in my blood, so to speak. But as far as other authors, um, the Toni Morrisons, I like leadership. I deal with uh, Maxwell, and some other authors of that nature. So I'm kind of all over the place, but those are helpful when it comes to writing, to be well-rounded and eclectic in what you're consuming. And so I think the more you read, the better writer you become.
Um, what role does faith or spirituality play in your writing?
Um, it plays a big role because I try to incorporate some of that in every book, and I try not to because I'm not a pastor or anything of that nature, so I try not to overwhelm with that. That's not the main purpose of my writing, but um, I like to show the God touch, especially in my nonfiction. I want to bring that, a touch of that to make it the reality of it, because I believe that we don't do anything alone. And I think that and I have a strong belief in Jesus Christ, and there is a higher power that kind of guides us and helps us out and open doors and close some doors as well. And so I try to put a little bit of that in each of my books.
So tell us, what is your motivation?
My family motivates me tremendously. Um, my wife motivates me, and all that she does and she accomplished. My kids motivate me, setting a good example for them, letting them know that it's possible, letting them know that the sky is not the limit. And so yeah, my family is my biggest motivation.
So, for those that may be listening to the show now, those the potential and upcoming authors that are writing books and may be listening to you to maybe learn some things, what are some things you can tell them about writing and why it's important to stick to whatever that is that they're going to do in writing books?
The most important thing that I would say, because I know people that desire to write a book, and just write. The rest will take care of itself. Just write. When you write, and you put together a body of work, that's the first step. The editing process, the typesetting, and all of that, all of those things come later. Just write. Just write. That's it.
So, what has been the most rewarding part of being an author?
Wow. For me, the most rewarding part is to have a thought in your head and bring it to fruition in a book. Like, it's the most incredible feeling to have a thought, like, I thought this and I brought it to fruition. Most awesome feeling to me.
So, what future books or projects are you working on at this moment?
um I'm working on a children's book with my daughter. I'm working on the trilogy portion of my life, nonfiction, um, which is called No Ceiling. I've already started on that. My goal is to have it done by the end of the year. I would like to rent a booth annually. My high school has a giant picnic or cookout annually, and I would like to get a booth. My high school principal remembered me, and she wrote for the back panel of my third book. And so I would like to roll that out during the time period of when my high school has, the large cookout. Alumni come back, current students are there, or whatever, and it's a really big deal for the high school. So that is currently what I'm working on. I'm also working on a TV series based loosely on what I know about my father's life. So I'm working on a drama, uh, crime drama television series that I would like to complete, say about the middle of next year. So I've started, dabbling in that a little bit. And so, yeah, I'm very, very excited about the upcoming projects.
So let's talk about your legacy and reflections. When you look at your life's journey, what are you most proud of?
Hmm. Um, I'm most proud of my family. Um, so uh, I never imagined that I would be um, the father of the family that I have. I have a wonderful and loving wife, and I have three awesome children, and that is everything to me. And that is I mean, I am super, super proud of my family, and that God chose me in order to husband my wife and father my children. I think that is the most awesome responsibility that could be bestowed upon me, and to have a family of my own after being adopted at birth is just an awesome feeling for me.
So, what do you hope your children see when they look at your example?
Wow, man, I hope that they see how much I love them. I hope that they see perseverance. Um, I hope that
I hope
they
that they
see,
see
man, a blueprint on how to live their life, to be respectful of others, and to define their own definition of what success is, and to never stop desiring to achieve. Yeah.
How do you want to be remembered as a man, a soldier, and a leader?
Hmm. That is a really great question. Uh, I want to be remembered as dependable. I want everyone that comes in contact with me, that know me personally, to know that my word means something. Yeah, that's how I'd like to be remembered.
So, what legacy do you hope to leave for future generations?
Wow. Um, I haven't thought about that. Um, that is a excellent question. Um, and wow, I really can't answer that. I don't know. I hope it's something very positive. And I pray that my work lives on forever, and that someone will pick it up and push it forward. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I see. I see it as the man that could. The man
Thank-
that could, because I mean, truly, as you just think about it, and as you were coming into your own, it's such an interesting journey because at each part, as you went up that ladder, there was always a peak and a spike at each step. And so at each one of those steps, it just shows that you were accomplishing and putting all the feathers in your cap as you kept walking up all those steps, and you're still walking. That's the thing. So that's a very high bar that you're setting.
yeah. I've been told.
So, and finally, what does Black excellence mean to you today?
I think Black excellence is everything. You know, what would what would this country look like without Black excellence?
Exactly.
Black excellence is everything. We're everywhere. We're everything.
Yes.
There isn't a facet of life that you can't touch or think about, talk about, or live in that hasn't been touched by Black excellence. We define culture. Um, we define fashion. We define music. We define math. We define astrology. We define geology. I mean, what would the world be without Black excellence? We define culinary. Like, the world would be a sad place without Black excellence. So to me, Black excellence is everything. It can't be topped. And so the world is better because of Black excellence. This country is better because of Black excellence. And so we exist, we thrive in any environment. We thrive. And so Black excellence is everything, man. And we as Black people are awesome. Period.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like to leave to our audience? Tell them how they can connect with you via social media, your website, how to get your books, all of those good things.
Okay, I'll start backwards. I heard this once, so I'm gonna say it's not a real word, but I'm Googleable. But my books are sold wherever you purchase your books. They're on Amazon. You can get them on Walmart.com. You can go to booksamillion.com. So the books are out there. They are available. In closing, what I would like to leave as far as encouragement is once you set your mind to something, see it through. That's what I'd like to leave as far as any words of wisdom. See it through.
Okay, well, so as I close the show, I have a closing monologue that I'm going to do to close the show. But in closing, can you stick around a few minutes after I close the show?
Absolutely.
So I want to thank each and every last one of you for watching this show this evening. And you guys got all this words of wisdom and you learned of the creative experience of Dr. Payne. For those of you that are watching on all of our channels, including the YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I am asking if you will please support us by subscribing and enabling all notifications. Therefore, you're able to catch the shows when they're live, as well as you're able to go back and watch all of the previous recorded shows of all the great professors that have been here, that have been leaning and giving that is more information and educational aspects as to how we can do things to better help not just perform in our communities, but to build them as well. Also, on those YouTube channels, as the posts go out, when there's something that's happening that's up and coming, you're able to get those posts as well, and you can also stay a part of those communities on the YouTube channel. So in closing, Dr. Payne, your story is a testament to discipline, courage, scholarship, and service. You have lived a life that honors your family, your community, and your country. From the battlefield to classroom, from leadership in uniform to leadership in your community, you have shown what it means to rise, to serve, and to give back. On America in Black and White, we celebrate the men and women who carry our history forward with dignity. And tonight, you reminded us that excellence is not an act, it is a lifestyle. It is a commitment. It is a legacy. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for sharing your heart with us tonight. Thank you all for joining us. And please join us again tomorrow night for another great show here on America in Black and White at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm your host, Charles King. You guys, please have a